Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the AM Report for HAPS News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer. It's Tuesday, November 10th, 2020, and before you get too comfortable with this new Joe Biden victory, it's time to look at the Trump administration and these actions that he's been taking since the announcement that Joe Biden would be the next president-elect of the United States. Is he trying to stage a coup with these firings of administration officials, these emails, fundraisers, the language and rhetoric that's coming out of the administration about a stolen election? We'll discuss this, all this, and more this morning on the AM Report. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the program. It's Tuesday, November 10th, and we've got a lot of headlines to cover this morning, so let's just jump right into it. Let's see. It looks like Europe and the United States are setting records for new coronavirus cases, more than 100,000 a day in the United States, with outbreaks in South America, North Africa, India, and other areas. I'll note that there are now more than 10 million infections right here in the United States, with a death toll that's continuing to climb. Pfizer did announce that there is a vaccine that has a 90% success rate yesterday. We'll see how that goes. Georgians in the state of Georgia, USA, have until December 7th to register in the Senate runoff election scheduled for January 5th, 2021. Mail voting begins on November 18th, and in-person early voting begins December 14th. Sort of confusing, but John Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock, the two Democrats looking to unseat Republicans in those seats. President-elect Biden announced his coronavirus task force yesterday, made up of physicians and health experts, and he put forward a national plan for testing, contact tracing, and resolving shortages in personal protective equipment. So keep your eyes on that task force. But we're going to talk a little bit about some of the problems he's running into in the transition this morning as we get into our broadcast. So let's stay tuned for that. The Supreme Court is currently, right at this moment, hearing our oral arguments in a case that seeks to strike down, the Affordable Care Act. So all eyes are on Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, Trump's appointees to the Supreme Court, to see if they will make what is being called a purely political decision by the Supreme Court. Now, 3 people who attended an election night party for Trump have tested positive for coronavirus, including Secretary Ben Carson of Housing and Urban Development, the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and David Bossie, who is leading Trump's elections challenges, and there are many. So keep your eyes out on these developments as the news unfolds. So this morning, is Donald Trump trying to stage a coup? So we know that yesterday, Attorney General Bill Barr, he authorized federal prosecutors across the United States to pursue, quote, substantial allegations of voting irregularities. So his order went out against basically a longstanding Department of Justice policy that basically says that you don't investigate elections until their results have been certified. The results have not been certified. The electors will vote on this in December and cast their votes and certify the election. So the other thing is there continues to be no evidence of voter fraud. So Bill Barr, he's authorizing these Justice Department investigations, and an official at the Justice Department whose name is Richard Feiger, he actually stepped down in protest as a result of Bill Barr's little order, and he is the man who would be in charge of investigating voter fraud. So he sees what this is as a purely political move by a member of Trump's inner circle. Very, very troubling. The Trump appointee who leads what is called the GSA, the General Services Administration, has not yet formally recognized Biden as the president-elect. So she's holding this up and depriving the incoming administration of a lot of office space, funding, agency visits, federal funding for the transition. So this is usually something that's supposed to be pretty seamless. She is saying, well, there hasn't been a winner certified yet, which again, against protocol. The winner has been projected. We know it's going to be Joe Biden. She's saying that there isn't an election outcome yet. So she is holding him back. The Biden campaign is considering pursuing legal remedies to force her hand to start allowing the transition to occur. This is all very standard protocol. And it's sort of in keeping with some of the rhetoric that's coming out of Donald Trump himself. Raising emails meant to raise money for Donald Trump. So you make your own deductions about why that would be. But Donald Trump sending fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser. And it's further in keeping with the other rhetoric that's coming out of other members of the Trump administration. Here's Kayleigh McEnany actually getting his press secretary, actually getting pulled from Fox News, cutting her off mid-sentence and mid-press release, press conference last night. Rigging and cheating. And when Fox News is cutting you off because you're throwing out baseless allegations that harm democracy, you know it's not a good day for you. We got a lot of people chiming in this morning. Hello from Sydney. Good morning, Mark Goldman. And thank you for the little Appreciate You award. If you're watching this on the HAPS platform or the HAPS app, you can just click an award button and award the broadcast. It'll pop up on screen mid-broadcast. Let me know what you're thinking, or leave me a comment on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, wherever you're watching this. I can read it and bat around with you live on air. Thank you, Lucia, for the WOW award. Let's see. Biden-Harris campaign needs to sue the President Trump administration. I think the Biden campaign is considering seeking legal action against at least the GSA, the General Services Administration, for halting the preliminary transition procedures. So Christopher Drago says, I believe this is a coup with every fiber of my being. The reinforcement wall around the White House, etc. The man is desperate. Yes, I'll note that ahead of election night, Trump had a wall built around, a non-scalable wall built around the White House. Not exactly sure if he's worried about being driven out or if he's worried about people getting in. But either way, thank you for joining from Helsinki. Leave me a comment if you're watching this and let me know what you're thinking. So that was Kayleigh McEnany last night on Fox News, getting pulled from the broadcast midstream. So it's not just Trump's rhetoric. Now it's her press secretary. And then, of course, the Trump appointee to the GSA, the General Services Administration, holding up the transition. And then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Good old Mitch. Good old Mitch. He's the leader of the Republican Party. He's not acknowledging Biden's victory either. And he is saying that Trump was 100%, quote, 100% within his authority to challenge the results. Which is just wild, because I'll also note that Mitch McConnell was having had a meeting with all the newly elected senators and photo ops yesterday. So it's the same election. He's okay to meet with the newly elected senators, but the president can challenge the results. He's sort of admitting that there was no fraud by acknowledging the election of the Republican senators in the Republican majority, but continues to cast doubt over the outcome of the presidential race, which was cast using all of the same ballots. So Mitch McConnell also said yesterday that he kind of chastised Democrats because they were the ones that spent years casting doubt over the outcome of the presidential election. And these are the same characters that refused to concede the election to Donald Trump. And let's roll the tape, guys. That's former Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton the day after the election, 2016, giving a public concession speech, but even saying in her speech she called Donald Trump the night of the election to concede the race. So this notion from Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump that the Democrats refused to accept his presidency is baloney and bogus, and therefore making his rhetoric even more troubling. Mark Goldman chiming in to say he's surprised that Senator Ben Sasse has congratulated Joe Biden on his victory. He's only one of two Republican senators to publicly acknowledge Joe Biden's victory. He and Senator from Maine, the senator from Maine, whose name now escapes me. Come on, Susan Collins, have publicly acknowledged the victory of Joe Biden, but that's about it. Republicans are mum. There's a couple former members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, who are coming in to say step aside. But all in all, quiet from the Republican Party. And by the way, that speech from Hillary Clinton is how you do a concession. Donald Trump, take notes, because there was plenty of interference in the 2016 election, and with Republicans and the Russians, tomato, really at this point, the Russians and their interference campaign, which 17 intelligence agencies unanimously agreed was an attack on our democracy and the 2016 election. There were plenty of interferences to investigate at the time, and yet she conceded for the good of the country, and Donald Trump should do the same, and Mitch McConnell should do the same. These legal challenges that Mitch McConnell is referencing so far have carried no muster. These are allegations of voter fraud that have no evidence, of other baseless accusations against the vote counting procedures. A new one was filed by the Trump campaign in Pennsylvania yesterday. And here's a tweet from the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, Josh. I don't know if this is popping up here. Let's see. Yeah, this is Josh Shapiro. Yesterday, about the election results in Pennsylvania. I'll note the Supreme Court case, that the only Supreme Court case that seems to maybe carry any weight is the one where the Supreme Court asked the Pennsylvania to separate the ballots that arrived after Election Day, to partition them off. And I'll note that the results that are coming in publicly do not include the ballots that were cast after 8 p.m. That Pennsylvania county clerks have already partitioned those and counted them separately so as to not affect the outcome in case there was a legal challenge. Very wise. So any challenge that's brought before Pennsylvania will likely not really have any effect or outcome or even have any standing. So these legal challenges don't appear to be really carrying any any weight to them. The cases have been filed in 5 key states alleging ballots had errors because voters were required to use Sharpies, observers didn't have enough access to monitor ballots, and that late arriving mail ballots were improperly mixed with legal votes. None of that is true. There's no evidence to suggest that's true. I believe 10 of those lawsuits have now been dismissed across the country. And so there's nothing really to suggest that these legal challenges are carrying any weight. So then there's the next action by the Trump administration, and that's his firing yesterday of Mark Esper, who's the defense secretary. They've been long at odds, but the thought was that Mark Esper would stay on until the transition or until after this term by the president, which is really troubling. And Mark Esper had refused to use duty troops to control protests when Black Lives Matter protests earlier in the year were really threatening the president and having him hide in a bunker. True story. And so now there's a lot of concern that Christopher Wray, the FBI director, and the CIA director, Gina Haspel, are on the firing block, which is ringing a lot of alarms that Donald Trump may be removing members of his administration who might challenge his desire to stay in office no matter what. So keep your eyes on this space. Really troubling activity coming out of the Trump administration. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that it's possible that we have an authoritarian, a dictator in office who is refusing to leave? I'm not sure. I think there's reason to be optimistic that, and the Biden campaign has said that they are perfectly comfortable escorting trespassers from the White House once he's inaugurated. The inauguration will still happen in January, whether Donald Trump likes it or not. But very, very troubling. And I don't think Donald Trump is going to go quietly. So we should all keep our eyes on that. And we should all keep our eyes on the 2 Senate races in Georgia, which may determine the outcome of the Senate, the control of the Senate, whether Democrats or Republicans will control the Senate. So this has been the AM Report for Haps News, the network of Now. We are live every weekday morning at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, with all of your quick political news and headlines to get your day started right. I'm Alex Mahajer. If you like this content, if you like this journalism, please consider sponsoring it. Visit me at haps.tv/@Alex. And subscribe to this. Join the other 204,000 subscribers to this program. And join me every morning. We will be joined on Thursday of this week by Reverend Honor from a Georgia nonprofit that's working on the ground to register voters. And Friday by Miranda Yaver. She's a constitutional scholar and political scientist, to discuss the rulings coming out of the Supreme Court with regards to the Affordable Care Act and whether Trump has any legal remedies to staying in office, or which legal principles he can flout now to try to stay in power no matter what. So this has been the AM Report.